Hello guys, good morning. Welcome to the session. Okay, let's start. I'll log into my console, AWS management console. Okay, so we are here. In last class we have been talking about I am, right? We talked about I am users, user groups, and policies. We have created a user group and also user, and also talked about CLI. Yes. Let us create one more user, add users. Let's say uh, username Likita and access type. Let's give both programmatic access and AWS console access, custom password, and we don't want password change this time. Let us not put in this group. We'll create one more group and let's set development and testing. This is the group name, and from group she'll get EC2 access, say EC2 full access. Next, let's skip this key value tags, review and create user. So download CSV which contains access key ID and secret access key. Close. Right, we have two groups and two users and policies attached to them. So these are all the policy. We talked about customer managed policies, AWS managed policies, and inline policies. And I'll also add one inline policy to the user. That means inline policy, when I delete the user, inline policy will also get deleted. Add inline policy. Let's choose a service. S3. Let's say all actions. Not like we have specific buckets. If you want to assign this policy to only specific bucket, so you can restrict the access. You can add ARN of the bucket. then this user can access only one bucket. This role will apply to access only particular bucket. This is one way of similarly, if we want her to access only through access points, not directly through S3 URLs or S3 object URLs. Right, we talked about access points. Then you can restrict access to only access points or to specific jobs objects. If if we are granting permission to all the S3 resources, then all resources. Say all S3 actions and to all resources, to all the jobs, all the buckets, and it, through direct access also, and through access point also. That is all the resources. And then request conditions. So if you want to set a multi-factor authentication here for your bucket, then you can set a multi-factor authentication. So here it requires console users with temporary credentials to authenticate with an MFA device for these actions. So let's not put this. We don't have an MFA device. Otherwise, we can also set this multi-factor authentication and review policy. Create policy. Okay, let's say this is inline policy. And create policy. So one inline policy and one policy from the group. And in the IAM console, if I go here to the dashboard, I can see users, user groups, customer managed policies, roles, identity providers, etc. And here, if you want multi-factor authentication for your account, you can set it here. Okay, account settings. Here, if you want to change password policy, if you user we will be creating passwords for users, right? If you want to set any password policies, there has to be one capital letter, one special character, at least 8 characters. So right now there are no other. The only one is at least the password length has to be 8 characters. Suppose you want the authentication to be strong, then you can change your password policy. Then you have to set passwords for users, or users has to, when they are changing their password, they have to follow this password policy. There should be at least one special character. Enable password expiration. So let's say password expiration for every 3 months they have to change the password. So these kind of things. Let's save changes. I'm not setting any password policy now. And security token service. This security token service, it allows you to bring your certificates, tokens, SSL tokens. See, session tokens for global STS endpoint, this one, are valid only in AWS regions and enabled by default. If you intend to enable a new region for your account, you can use that. So suppose if it's an organizational account and you want only certain regions, and if you want to add more, so you can add this STS tokens. So valid only in AWS regions, enabled by default anyway. So right now it's valid to all the AWS regions. Suppose if you don't want some regions, you can go and edit, remove it. In the same way, we have endpoints, and again all the regions are there as endpoints here. So you can deactivate. And here, let me go back to dashboard where we can set multi-factor authentication, etc. IAM dashboard. I am once again. Okay, in the best practices, we have all these things. Grant a least privilege access. Use AWS organizations. Right now, the one account we are using, it's not organization account, it's personal account. And if you are using AWS for organization, you have to use organization's account to centrally manage and govern your environment. If you want to enable this multi-factor authentication, there are three types of authentication. So I am users, it's taking me to here. Let's say settings, page size. Yeah, here multi-factor authentication is there. Let us disable it, but you can set multi-factor authentication anyway. The identity providers. In IAM dashboard itself, we should be able to set a multi-factor authentication. They will be changing this like how the page appears now and then. Let's say MFA. Yeah, let's say customize. No, not this one. You can create any alias. Yeah, here it is security alerts, enable MFA. Okay, enable MFA, multi-factor authentication. You can set multi-factor authentication for your account. The you can activate multi-factor authentication. Now it's asked, do you want a virtual multi-factor authentication? So authenticator app has to be installed on mobile or device, like two-step verification. You will receive OTP on your mobile where authenticator app is there. And you can use UBQ and Gemalto tokens. These are digital devices. I think UTF security key you'll have on digital device, and you'll get OTP for that small digital devices with small calculator or keychain kind of a device. You can bring and set up those devices, and other hardware like Gemalto tokens. So these devices you will, when you insert the device only on your laptop, then only it will get verified, and then you can connect to the cloud. So let's see this YubiKey, and it's a UTF device. Yeah, this one. This device, it's if you insert this device, then only it will get verified. So it's a hardware authentication. It's not software. Also, it's not a one-time password, something like that. It's an hardware verification. If you have this device, and suppose you want your employees, you want to give some s- authentication to employees, so all the users who can access AWS will be given with these devices, and they should carry this. And if they insert this in their laptops, then only they can access to AWS to their accounts from their laptop. This is YubiKey, and this one, Gemalto token. This is a small device, as I said, some small digital device where you'll get the code, digital code. See these kind of devices. You'll get an that digital code, and by giving that digital code, you can enter. So you can also set multi-factor authentication. So we don't have we multi-factor authentication. And access key IDs. If you want to manage your access key ID or create access key ID from here itself and then assign to the users. So at the when you are giving programmatic access, anyway you can create an access key for them. But if you want to create an access key in advance and reuse it, uh, then you can create access keys here. And Cloudfront key pairs. Cloudfront is a CDN, content delivery network. You can create a key pair for that. So we will get to know about that when we are talking about Cloudfront. X.509 certificates. These you can create certificate on AWS itself or upload our own certificate. What is this? If you remember, while creating EC2 instances, we used HTTP, not HTTPS. We are unable to use also because we don't have X.509 certificate. It's an encryption certificate. When you have that certificate associated with your account, you can use HTTPS. If you observe the URL, all the URLs contain HTTPS, not HTTP. HTTP means the traffic going into the internet will be plain. It will be a plain traffic, whereas SSL is a certificate which encrypts the traffic. This .x.509 certificate will encrypt your traffic. We call it as SSL certificate. Right. And so if you're using HTTP, then you are sending a plain traffic into the network. If you're using HTTPS, then your traffic, the data which you are sending into the internet, you are communicating in encrypted format. So if you remember, I'll go to EC2. No, let's check in Mumbai. Okay, launch instance, select, configure instance, and we want it to be in uh, public IP should be there. Let's choose 1B, request port instance. That's it. Next, add storage, add tags, add security group. If you go to previous, it's add tags, right? Let's say security group. And it says rules with 0.0.0/0, which is CyberNet of internet, allow all IP address to access your instance. We recommend setting security group rules to allow access from known IP addresses only. Anyway, now here when I want to add the rule, always we have been adding HTTP but not HTTPS. You cannot use HTTPS also. Let's say review and launch. Is HTTPS has been added. Let's see. I think I have this launch instance. Okay, get notified of estimated charges. So we can also use HTTPS. This is a new change. A few months back, you have to attach your certificates on your own. Otherwise, you can only use HTTP but not HTTPS. So here they are allowing you to use HTTPS. Estimated charges. Say view instance. So now I am using HTTPS. And AWS is allowing me to use HTTPS without submitting any certificates manually. That means it's assigning certificate, SSL certificate for us. Security, yes, we have added HTTPS. So that's not the case. I think it's a new change. A few months back, you are allowed to only use HTTP, not HTTPS. Anyway, let us edit the inbound rules. Edit inbound rules. Add rule. Let us keep it as HTTP. Just in case if we don't know whether there is they are providing HTTPS by default, there might be additional charge for that for using HTTPS. So it's better to use HTTP only. So internet and save rules. Okay. Suppose you want to use a HTTPS and bring in your own. Right now it's there AWS is supporting. But however, if you want to bring in your own certificates, then you can use your own certificates in IAM. Let's say IAM. So enable multi-factor authentication. We are here, right? And access key IDs. We can create Cloudfront key pairs. X.509 certificates. You can upload your own certificate or create a new certificate here and download the certificate. Download private. This certificate is provided by AWS. And please download private key file and certificate now. You will not be able to retrieve your certificate and private key later. So we don't want this anyway. Close. Okay, delete. Yes. Account identifiers. So this is my account identification. And that's about this thing. IAM security credentials. Let's go back. And coming to users. So we have created one user and we know I can log in to this user's account using CLI and as well as console. So let us use CLI. And you have to install CLI, which we discussed yesterday. I asked you to go to that web page and install CLI, right? After installing CLI, you have to go to your terminal and say AWS configure. It will ask you access key. Not this one. Okay, this is the access key. Copy this. And a secret access key. Copy this. And by default region here is I think this is Singapore code. Let us use AP hyphen South hyphen 1, which is Mumbai's code. And default output format table. So let's give the command AWS EC2 describe instances. Yes, here you can see table. Since we have selected table, given table, you cannot give text, JSON, other supported formats. So it has been given all the details. Describe instances gives details of the instance, the owner ID, reservation ID, and then the architecture. It's a 86 64-bit architecture, and then all other things. Availability zone, tenancy default, all the things which you see, which you have configured, all the things. Let's see. Why I'm unable to type anything? Okay, let us close this and open new one then. AWS configure. And when you give any AWS access key ID, it will get saved. See AWS configure once again. But since it's a Mac thing, otherwise in your AWS EC2 instances, by default a CLI will be there. Let us go this time. We will start our CLI from EC2. Connect. and connect using putty. Yes. And in all the EC2 instances, AWS CLI is already installed. It's pre-installed. Let's say AWS configure, access key, and then secret access key. So table. That's it. Now I have been logged into AWS CLI. Let's say AWS S3 LS. See, 360 digit MG demo bucket is there. Because this user has both AWS and S3 access. Let us create one bucket AWS S3. Let us call this as bucket create from CLI. So make bucket has been done. Let's go and see here. So we have created bucket. And let's go back to CLI. And without using this S3 or AWS configure also, we can access S3. So right now in my EC2, I am using this AWS configure. Without this, so I am connecting to S3. So I have given access key ID, secret access key, everything. So let us close this. So terminate. And I'll connect to it once again. This time we will connect from browser. Go to EC2, instances running, connect. This time let us connect using EC2 instance connect, that is through browser. Right. So here, now if I say AWS S3 LS, oh, it's working. Mm, without because I have already logged in. As an user, that's why I was able to see this AWS S3 LS. Let's say AWS configure and delete those credentials. I'm not giving anything here. Or what we will say, by default they are there. So let's say AWS configure. Let's give a different credential. Let us give Rob's credentials here. So unable to copy from there to here. So we'll do one thing. We will take off S3 permissions from this user. Okay, go to I am. Users. This is EC2 permission. And let us remove this permission. Remove. Now there is no S3 permission. Okay, access key ID, secret access key, default region, table, everything is saved. And everything will be saved in AWS. Something called as AWS credentials will be there. Let's say CD, ls, let's check in sys, ls, or let's go to home directory. CD home, ls. EC2 user is there. So let's go to EC2 user. Nothing is there in EC2 user. Okay, let us come back. CD to this. And now I'll say AWS S3 ls. See authentication error. Some error is coming. Why? Because we have deleted the access. S3 permission has been removed. So let's go. Now assign role to I am. I'll go to roles. Create a role. And what is a role? Role we have already used before, but at that time we have not talked about a role. A role you can use to grant permission to other services. So an IAM role is an identity you can create that has specific permissions with credentials that are valid for short durations. Suppose I want EC2 instance to access S3 bucket. EC2 instance should have permission to access S3 bucket. Or I want EC2 instance to write into DynamoDB table database. Because EC2 is a server and it want to get or put some data if from to the database. So then the EC2 should have an access to database. How you can give that access? Through roles. So users also have permissions. We have given permissions through policies. Likewise, services we will give permissions to them using roles. Let us create role for EC2. Next, permissions. Let's give S3 access. S3. All these are S3 roles. S3 read only. Let's give S3 full access. all the EC2 instances now which have this role attached to them will have access to S3. Next tags, next review, role name, test role, allows EC2 instances to call AWS services. Which services? S3. Create role. Now let's go to CLI and say AWS S3 LS. When calling the list bucket operation, the authorization headers malformed. A non-empty access key ID must be provided in the credential. Okay, let us say AWS configure, but no need of AWS configure. Let us stop and start the instance once. EC2. Stop instance. Let us refresh. Okay, go to instance. Yes, stopped. Now let us start it. Start instance. And connect to it. Let me log in as root user and say AWS S3 LS. Okay, unable to configure credentials. Let's go to IAM. I'm not giving anything. Say AWS S3 LS. Okay. So it seems like it is mandatory to log in with the user ID. So let's use this user ID only, secret access key, everything from this user, the one which don't have S3 access. Access key. Secret access key. Enter. And one. Set text this time. Okay, access denied, but how to test this? Actually, roles. To check these roles, I can go to EC2. EC2 instance running. Let's say actions. Instance settings. Modify IAM role here, security. And right now there is no IAM role attached. So let us attach one role. EC2 and S3 test role is there. So let us attach this, save. So now I have attached this role. And let's say AWS S3 LS. So exit. Okay, we cannot access from CLI, but the role we have attached in any access, if it want to write into S3, anything like that, actually you can make an API calls from your EC2 instances. So since this user doesn't have a permission, we cannot test this. Calling list buckets. So let's go to IAM. Add permissions. Let's use this. Secret access key. Okay, here we are able to see only from CLI, but actually programmatic access, actually it's there because we have assigned the role. And you can assign role while creating EC2 instances also. If you go to EC2, just give me a minute, guys. Yep. Let's go to EC2 instance and launch one more instance. Launch instance. Select this one. Next, configure instance details. And this time, I'm going to let's make it public only. Enable. Next, add storage, add tags, security groups. Yeah, here, sorry. Here, we got an option of attaching IAM role. Here I can attach the role EC2 and S3 test, and I don't have private subnets, but let's disable the IP. And also I am not giving, I don't have a private subnet, otherwise let's give no preference. We are launching in this VPC itself, but I am disabling the public IP. I cannot connect through this one using public internet. Only private IP is there. And I have attached IAM role. Next, add storage, add tags, security group, but we don't want HTTP rule also. Review and launch. launch instance. Can we know how we connect to private instances? From this EC2, I'll connect to this EC2. Yes, we'll go here. I'll connect from terminal so that I can copy the file. It seems like the IP address has been changed. And we'll go here. Copy this. Connect. Public IP has been changed after a restart. So let's go to SSH client, copy this, paste it here. Yes, and then I'll log in as a root user. vi demo ec2.pem. And go here. Sorry, downloads, right? I have done downloads, demo ec2.pem. Text edit. Save and quit. Now I can connect to the private instance, right? Say ls. I have demo ec2.pem. Go to private instance. Connect. And also this one, SSH. Yes. And let's say AWS S3 LS. Let's try with a different command. Actually, without using any username, without logging in as any user, we should be able to access S3 because we have assigned a role while creating this EC2 instance. That's why it's not working. Say AWS S3 ls. And let's give the bucket name. We have 360 digit mg demo bucket. Copy from there itself. Let's add HTTP rule and test. We will go to EC2. Security. Inbound rules. And edit this inbound rule. Yeah, we have added HTTP too. HTTP there, SSH is there, but why I am unable to execute this? AWS S3 ls has to work. So here I have already logged in, right? I have already logged in as an user. Otherwise, I have connected to it, but I have not run any AWS configure. So let us close and connect once again. Terminate. Downloads. This is my demo key, and then I'm connecting to it. Yes, and I'll say AWS. I'll go to CD. From this directory, I'll say AWS S3 ls. And directory doesn't matter. Yeah, now we are getting this. But actually, I have not logged in as any user. I have not logged in as user, but I am getting this AWS S3 ls. Why? Because we have assigned role, right? After assigning a role, maybe it took some time, but the other EC2 instance also have the role. So it should also work with that instance. But anyways, so this here I am not using user credentials. If I don't, if I detach the role, I cannot run this. Then I have to log in as user, and then only I can run AWS S3 ls. Let us delete the bucket AWS S3 RB, remove bucket S3 colon, copy the bucket name. S3. This one. Copy. Paste it here. So delete, remove the bucket. And without actually using any user, you can access S3. Why? Because EC2 has been attached with S3 role. With S3 full access, all the EC2 instances which have this rule can access all the S3 buckets. We have because we have given S3 full access. And you can also create roles to assign permission to certain S3 bucket. Let us go to IAM roles. You can create your own role. Create role. Let's say EC2. Next. Yes, and if you want to give access to only particular bucket, then create a policy. And here we are back again this page. We are creating a policy for role for EC2. We are creating a role, and this role will be assigned to EC2 instance. Whatever EC2 instance you attach this role. I don't want to give permission to all the S3 buckets. So instead, let us use one bucket name. You can use JSON or Visual Editor, and we also have a policy generator. You can also use that AWS policy generator. Select policy type. I am creating IAM policy. The effect is allow to S3 bucket, Amazon S3 actions. It can do all the actions, and here I have to give the bucket ARN. And where can you find this bucket ARN? This is my bucket. Go back. Here it is. Copy ARN. Copy ARN of your bucket. Put it here. So if you want this IAM policy to only read from the bucket or write to the bucket, if you don't want to give the deny, uh, if you don't want them to delete, sorry, then you can say deny and choose delete here, delete policy. So let's say we are granting all actions, and this is IAM policy. Whoever having this policy will have all permissions on this 360 digit mg demo bucket, and only on this bucket, not on S3. say add statement, generate policy. So this is our policy. And we are saying action S3 allow here. So copy this, copy, come back to our console, go to JSON. So we have given this. Next tags, next review policy. So this policy defines some actions, resource conditions that do not provide permissions. To grant access, policy must have an action that has applicable resource or condition. Something is there. So name. This is role S3. Create policy. So our own policy, our own role has been created. Role S3. Right, I am allowing only to access this bucket. Here you can have your own roles and assign to services, or in most of the services there itself we have a role option. AWS will create a role behalf of ourselves. Or if you want to customize your roles, here you can customize the role. And now any EC2 instance which is having this role can access this 360 digit MG demo bucket. And how I can give the access? I'll go here, EC2, two instances are running. Go to actions, security, and you can modify I am role. Only this one is coming. Anyway, you can create a new role here and assign here itself. Roles, again create a role. For EC2 and the same procedure. Either you can use a policy generator or write in JSON, uh, or you can go with AWS managed policy. Choose a service, S3. This is another way. Here also, let's perform all the actions, give all actions, but not to all the buckets, only to specific. Let us add ARN. Here you can add the bucket ARN. Add ARN. Here. Here you can add bucket ARN, let's say 360 digit MG. Copy ARN and So we are restricting the access. And next, and other things, let us give any job, any. Create policy. Say S3, role 2, create policy. And S3 policy. Yeah, we have created a policy. And coming to role, yeah, that is, let us create a role. We have created policy and also create a role. Here we are in the process of creating a role. So let us say S3. Role S3 is there, and S3 role 2 has to be there. Anyway, role S3 is there, which is the policy created by us. Next, add tags. Next, review. Hyphen. Let's say demo. Create a role. And roles. Let's go back. This role we have created just now. And if you look into the policy, it will rest. We are not giving access to all the buckets, only one bucket. So modify IAM role. Now I got this. Let's save. Now AWS S3 LS will won't work. We have given access to only one S3 bucket, right? Not to all the S3 buckets. Then you can read objects from that particular bucket. Seems like the session is over here. We need to connect it again. Terminate. Okay, we will do this tomorrow then. So see you in tomorrow's class. So that's about roles. Any doubts, guys? Okay, we faced few issues because we have logged in as uh, user through CLI, and while doing EC2 lab, EC2 role lab especially, don't use CLI. Don't log into CLI as a user without logging to CLI as test, assign a role and test, give commands. It will work. If role is successfully assigned, it has to work without actually connecting to AWS CLI. Clear? Okay. Okay then. See you tomorrow. Yeah, bye.